Good morning. Today is Tuesday, October 29th. It's 9 o'clock. This is the Legal Committee meeting of the Motor Vehicle Commission. I am Chairman Carl Kramer, Commissioner Carl Kramer, Chairman of the Legal Committee. I would note for the record the following members of the Legal Committee are present: Chairman Roberts, Chairman Norton, Chairman Levy, Chairman Andrews, and myself. Additionally, we are joined by Executive Director Denise Lawrence, Jason Gilliam, Assistant Director, and our legal staff, Erica Smith and Taylor Hilton. Our newest addition, Sierra Shepard, who will serve as our program attorney. I'll open the floor to discussion for any member who would like to make comments on specific cases from our report.
I'll go ahead and get us started if y'all don't mind. I guess number 18, Erica, was that in your case? Was 18 yours or Taylor's?
Yes.
Okay.
18 is mine.
Anyway, I had a little heartburn over that one of just some of the things that were in it. They seemed to be egregious in nature to me. So I talked to Erica about that. And so, Erica, you want to kind of bring us to a synopsis of it?
Sure. I'll give you just a quick overview of what happened with number 18. So the respondent, the dealership, charged 3 different fees according to the bill of sale. We did an investigation on this, so I have all the documentation. And those fees are a doc fee of $483, which we know is allowed if it's properly disclosed, which it was here. But then there's 2 other fees that's where I took issue. The app fee of $510 and the lot fee of $499. And I used those words because that's exactly what it listed on the bill of sale. And I didn't want to assume what those were. So in the investigation, I asked the investigator to ask the dealership to include in their sworn statement an explanation of what this app fee and what this lot fee was. Well, the respondent in his sworn statement stated the consumer was not charged these fees, therefore they're not applicable. So it's clear that the consumer was charged the fees. They're in the bill of sale. The amount charged matches the amount financed, so there's no discrepancies there. So the respondent was not honest in his sworn statement, and also just chose to ignore the question, which I have a problem with, us asking to explain what those fees are, because I think it's probably safe to assume that most consumers, if not all, are getting charged these 2 additional fees that we don't know what they are. So I think it is arguably fair to raise the civil penalty to kind of the maximum that we would fine somebody for a single violation. So moving that from 1,000 to 5,000 is more appropriate. And I think maybe using our catch-all, which is 5517 114 B1K, where, it's in the discretion of the commission to decide if something is false, fraudulent, or deceptive in relation to the sale of a vehicle. So because we don't have a lot of detail due to the, dealership kind of ignoring the question, I think it's fair to use that statute and use our discretion to decide that charging those fees that we don't know what they are and then lying to us about it is false, fraudulent, and deceptive, or at least deceptive.
Well, another concern in that is the fee before was only a $1,000 fine. And the problem I've got with that is it's like crime pays. You charge the guy and all you get is a slap on the wrist for the amount that you got from the consumer.
Right.
So he's really not out any punishment for something I feel like is very egregious. So I like the idea of what you're doing. So we're going to up it to 5,000?
Right.
Okay.
And strike the statute that I have stated on there and just change it to authorize a $5,000 civil penalty for engaging in a deceptive act in violation of 5517 114 B1K.
And see, instead of us bringing them in, now they'll maybe want to come in because of the $5,000 fee and try to come before us and want to get some leniency, but then we can get into more of what he did and whether he charged everyone that, or was this one customer he did?
Right.
But we can't find them because they lied to you on an affidavit.
Right.
And then they're refusing to come in, or they're ghosting us.
Right,
Is
just
that correct?
refusing, well, they cooperated with the investigation, but refused to answer the question that
Yes.
would give us what we need to understand these fees.
That's right.
So if they, I'm sure I will get a phone call if you vote to assess this $5,000 civil penalty, and if I get new information that changes this,
Sure.
I'll represent it to you. or-
There we go. I think that's good. What do you think?
Just to follow up on that, Commissioner Norton here, I think that that would be a deterrent, the $5,000 for sure, but you look at it, that's 10 car deals. I mean, if I'm a dealer doing 100 car deals a month, I pay the fine, move on. My concern is he's harming consumers. And I think the investigation needs to stay open, and I think we need explanation. I think he's come under some compliance, understanding what he's doing, or he needs to cease and desist.
Right, the consent order, with whatever fine you decide, will clearly state that they have to cease and desist using these fees, and if they don't, it can lead to an immediate revocation or at least opening a complaint and having a hearing.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, all right. Okay, number 31, talk us through that one, Erica. I noticed that 31 and 32 seem like they're the same dealership.
Okay, so 31 and 32 are related. 31 is, the complaint was against the used car dealership that is a sister dealership to the dealership in 32. 32 is the franchise dealership. This is very, very similar to two complaints that we had a couple years ago, or maybe it was a little less than that, where we had a used car dealership who had a sister store, and they were sending their new cars over to sell on the used car lot without getting the proper licensure, and making quite a lot of money off of doing that, having that, their reason was we wanted additional exposure, we didn't understand. But here, after discussion with the program and the executive director, we thought this was pretty egregious, because they've changed their name. The used car dealership has changed their name without telling us. We only found out upon inspection. They have a giant sign with their new name that really can't be taken down. And that happened in January. And they still have not updated their license. They've known that this is a problem at least since June, when we inspected them. And for whatever reason, I think they're blaming it on the manufacturer or trying to get the franchise agreement completed, but they still haven't updated that. So this has been ongoing since January. We were able to document 51 cars, new vehicles that were on the used lot. So here, it's just a recommendation, we can talk through it. We have a $20,000 civil penalty against the used car dealership and a $20,000 civil penalty against the franchise for different violations. Against the franchise for off-site sales, and against the used car dealership for failing to notify the commission of a name change, failing to notify us that you're selling a new line make, and advertising and selling new cars without the proper license. So, it's up to the commission. I can see how that might feel like it's a double penalty, but they are two separate dealerships and they are two separate problems, but they are the same cars.
Yeah,
It's not
same
like-
cars.
yeah.
But
Same
my
instance.
concern is it's the same owner.
Right,
Even though it's two
It
different
is.
franchises, or one's a used car, one's a new car, the way you went about the finding them, but it's the same 51 cars, and it's the same person that owns, or the entity that owns it.
right, that is correct.
I agree with the penalties. My question would be, are we heading the right direction in this situation? Is there a pending franchise agreement where the used car dealership has new cars? I mean,
Yeah, they've told us that they're working on the agreement. They're just waiting on it to be, I guess, entered into. And they have stopped selling, from what I understand,
Yes, okay.
they've stopped selling vehicles completely, or just of new cars for sure.
Yeah, I'm
They
not
moved
sure if
those.
it's, I apologize, we're not certain if it's completely, but they definitely don't have the new vehicles on the lot anymore. They have some used vehicles. We
Well-
just didn't send someone back out there because
Do
we're,
they have licensing to sell used cars now? Okay,
sir.
well, as long as they've corrected the problem with the new cars being on that lot, and they're attempting to remedy the situation pursuing a franchise agreement, I think we're heading in the right direction here. But back to the fines, clearly they violated state law, and I think the fines are correct.
You think it should be the double?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's clearly two violations. I mean, whether the amounts agreed just total, I think they both are subject to a fine, a penalty for doing what they did. I would guess the question would be, is $40,000 too much for one owner? It's one mistake, but it affects two locations that are licensed separately.
But Commissioner Norton, to your point, the owner split into two separate businesses intentionally, with two different sets of expenses and two different sets of responsibilities. So I don't know if the common ownership really, I'm not sure how sorry I feel for him as far as that goes.
I'm a little bit
But-
that way, but again, I look at double jeopardy. Is it the same 51, the same guy owns them both? That's my only question. So if y'all want to leave it at 40, I won't, I won't buck you, but I don't, I have heartburn over whether or not we're charging them twice for the same thing.
Well, I think we had a previous case last year with similar circumstances, so we have some
It was a
precedent,
little
we have a
different, but
precedent.
it's similar.
We
Yeah.
did. The main difference, and we did assess much higher civil penalties to the previous case because we had issued a letter of warning, and they had moved the cars, and then they moved them right back and started doing it all
And
over
they has
again.
multiple locations on the
Yeah.
used car lots.
Right.
Yeah.
But just an idea, if we feel that this is too heavy of a civil penalty for the same owner, maybe splitting the 20,000 and doing 10,000 against the used car dealership, 10,000 against the franchise to show that these are two separate problems. We understand they're the same cars, but,
Yeah.
here's your warning. And
Well, let me make sure I'm clear. Was the response time to this problem, was it received well? And did they act upon the request to move the cars?
yeah, I think
Okay.
it was, immediately after
Okay.
inspection. But of course, there's nothing they can do about the sign without destroying the outside of their building. So that's still a problem. And that's, we could have fined them more. We kind of maxed it out here.
Could have been 25,000.
Right. And that's without the failing to, notify us of the name change and without failing to, update your license. That's just for the cars.
Yeah. Well, I think with the previous record is clean, correct?
That is correct. With
I
both.
like the 10 and 10. And then if they don't like it, they can come back in here and we can dig deeper into this as to what they're doing and whether or not they've got a good alibi for what they're trying to do. And it's just some lack of communication, somebody not knowing, the general manager not realizing. I mean, I don't know in the corporate world how that lays, but that's for them to come and tell us about.
Right.
But if not, we've got 10 grand on each entity.
I think that's fair. I like that, I mean, in light of the fact they've moved towards getting it right, fixing the situation. And the maximum fine's 25,000 and 25,000. 10 to 10 seems certainly fair based on their effort to get it right.
right, and I might add, we discussed this for a long time.
Yes.
It's a very well-established dealership. They've been around for a long, long time, and we couldn't find a single historical complaint. Our only concern was the length of time that it's taken now from the time that the inspection happened, when they did move the vehicles immediately, to, we still haven't received a new application to change the name. They know that they were in violation. They don't know what sort of penalty will be assessed, but as Erica pointed out, we're trying to be consistent. And we thought if we took this as a first violation and based it on the number of vehicles involved, it would have been a little over, I think, 25,000 each. And we wanted to establish a cap that
Sure.
we thought would be reflective of what you guys wanted, but obviously, it's your call. We just don't want to be, egregious about overcharging and assessing penalties.
Have they communicated what's holding them up for this process? Is it the OEM or what is holding them up?
Yeah, we haven't gotten a lot of detail, but it's not their fault. It's the manufacturer they're having a franchise agreement with.
But at that point,
It's what
to
they
that
say.
point, we kind of established our opinion and what they need to do. As long as they don't put those cars back there, we're fine.
It sounds like we may be in a territorial dispute. Maybe that's, so.
I don't know.
So-
I don't know where it is, don't know who it is, but
Are they
anyway,
trying to turn
something-
the new used car franchise into a new car franchise?
Yeah.
Okay.
And is it the same OEM, or is that germane to this, or is it a different OEM with,
Same.
okay, so really they'd put vehicles from the same OEM, but just owned by the other dealership on that lot, trying to make the point that it's gonna be a new car store. So they-
Correct.
So they jumped the gun on that.
Very much so.
Now, and I don't recall, I mean, I know we did this recently with one of our new stores in terms of doing the paperwork, but I didn't feel like we had to have all the OEM stuff before we could notify the Motor Vehicle Commission. But do they have to have all the OEM stuff locked down for sure before they can notify their intent to the Motor Vehicle Commission?
Yes, sir. I mean, that's part of the
Okay.
package. They need to
Okay.
list all the line makes and all of
Right.
that and have the approval from the OEM.
So saying that the OEM is slow walking, it is plausible and likely accurate.
It's absolutely plausible. We just
Yeah.
don't know. It's never taken, in our experience, I don't think any of us are familiar with it taking this long. But, stranger things have happened, and there may be something else going on, as Stan mentioned.
And maybe the problem is that for us, that would be step one, not step last.
Right, to
You
put
know?
a giant sign and change your name and do all of those things
Yeah.
without even checking, I think
Well, and
is
before
pretty
you have the
irresponsible.
OEM sign off on it, I mean, that seems like you're getting the cart in front of the horse, but I'm with you all. I'm okay with the lower
10
fine.
and 10.
Especially given the background you said, if they've been really good at this, and this may just be out of their general experience, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt to y'all's point.
The only issue you have now, everything seems to be back in place with those cars removed, but that sign's still the elephant in the room, So that's got to be dealt with on some time frame.
Well, it's going to be more of a contentious thing for them and the manufacturer as to whether or not that's been approved or not.
Right, like
With us, we're okay.
right, it would be hard to, we can give them a deadline, but if it's out of their control, I just don't know how helpful that would be. I mean, we could tell them they can't sell any cars, but the way this sign is, it's attached to their building, it truly would cause destruction.
Well, they jumped the gun
They
there.
did.
We can't help that.
They
They can
did.
sell used cars, they can't sell new cars.
That's right.
They can't even have a sign that says they'll sell new cars. That's in violation of state law. So, I mean, we can certainly leave it open, I guess, for an investigation, monitor it. But at some point in time, if they can't get it worked out of the OEM, that sign can't stay.
I agree. I mean, we can include that along with the civil penalty as a term, if we want to give them a deadline that, we understand that this might be out of your control, but if it doesn't get worked out, you either have to stop selling cars at all because you have this misleading sign on your building, or you have to take it down and figure it out. But if you want that, I say we need to talk about how long you want to give them, so I can include that as
I
a,
say 90 days.
okay?
What do y'all think?
It's very fair, but I like
Yeah,
it.
let a fire under them.
Or right, would it be okay?
Because it takes a while to get somebody to come in and move a big sign.
Well, well, and if it's structural, but I'm still kind of, breaking my nose against the idea that you can even lease a line make sign before you have a valid franchise agreement. Because most OEMs won't let you buy the trademark or anything until you've got a business agreement.
Right.
So I don't know how they even own that sign.
I think from what I remember, what led to them putting it up possibly was like somebody from the city coming by and noticing that they had these new
You're
cars.
right. I think I read that.
And so they put it up real quick to comply with the city without even thinking about how it's going to impact their license and how it's a violation. But Jason and Denise and Taylor brought up a good point. We could also give them the option of just covering it, where it's
Yeah.
just not, if they don't want
there
to
you
take
go.
it down, they could at least cover
They
it.
can take it
There's
down in
3
90 days
choices.
Or cover it.
Yeah.
Right. So 90 days, if y'all can't work this out, you either have to cover it, take it down, or stop. You got to close your business until it's fixed.
Yeah.
Or could we ask them to cover it today until they get it sorted out?
Yeah, I feel like covering it is a pretty
That's pretty lenient.
pretty lenient, and they should be able to do that quickly. They got it up quickly.
We want to give them 30 days to cover it?
I like
Or
that.
90 days to move it?
I like that. I
like
was
that?
thinking the same thing.
Okay.
Okay. And then if they've got this worked out with the manufacturer, then we can go forward and get them licensed with the Motor V. Okay? I'm gonna let somebody else take a couple of more cases. I don't want to hold them
You
all.
did take a long time
I
on that one.
did. Sorry about that.
I was going to ask about our folks who were running the deceptive campaign where we had a number of different cars with, was it $5,000 fines for running the deceptive ad campaign, saying you can come on in and get this vehicle?
Oh, the scratch-offs?
Yeah, the scratch-offs.
Yeah, we have.
Several of them.
We have
There
a
were
few of
three of them,
those.
Yeah, 3 of them in a row. So, and do we,
Do you know what number?
I
Okay.
do, yeah. I mean, one of them is number 11.
Right.
I'm looking through, because, and then number 10. So,
Oh,
Commissioner, I'm sorry, if I would direct you to look at, on number 10 for the scratch-offs, at the history of the last 5 years.
On 10.
Yes, sir.
And 10 and 11 are owned by the same owner, by the way.
So you had two for 10, and then one 11. Is 11 a separate dealer?
They are a separate dealer, but they're the same owner, just a
Okay.
sister dealer.
They have the same address apparently.
yeah, so do we think this will be sufficient to get them to stop, given the history and given the rest?
Well, to your point on that, and there's another one, another case, it's, I don't have it here handy. But I think these, and especially one of them's got previous history for false deceptive advertising.
I'm seeing it.
I think we flag these guys and just watch, you know, I think I'd want to keep an eye on them to make sure they're not harming the consumers going forward, because this was a
Right.
pretty bad deal.
They did state that they have stopped using these kinds of advertising, that they agree that it was misleading, that in the future they would, if they used any kind of advertising or any kind of games, that they would make sure legal counsel reviewed it, their own legal counsel. And the same thing with, there's another one later in the report, I don't know offhand, that's a completely separate dealership, but that was using a similar game type
Number
advertising that
Number
said the same
52.
thing. Yeah.
Number 52.
Yes, 52. So they've all agreed that this was not something they're going to continue doing, that they'll have their advertising reviewed by an attorney in the future. So it stopped, but we can definitely flag them, and I can monitor their advertising, or ask them. I mean, we could ask them to send in any kind of mailers that they use in the future, but we also can't approve things, so.
Just flag, just got to watch them, that's it.
Yeah, I'm concerned that they build this into the advertising budget, and it's no big deal to them because it's so profitable for them. The $5,000 is nothing. And they have shown the propensity to do it again. That we find them 119,000, I think I read, in the previous.
Right,
yeah,
that was for something
For
different.
something different.
Right,
Okay,
but
okay.
yes, you're right, we have fined them for a pretty serious.
I'm okay with it as long as we monitor it and make sure we don't, just a safeguard that we don't have it happen again.
I think they've proven they need to be watched all the time.
That is absolutely true.
And that's
I
what-
mean,
Anything and everything.
honestly, I'm of the opinion with this dealer, if there is another problem, that they probably need to come before you.
Yeah,
Anything.
I agree.
Well, this is the stuff, I feel like this is why the commission's in place, and this is the stuff that makes our industry look bad, because
That's right.
people think we all pull this kind of nonsense. And if these guys are just gonna keep trying stuff till something sticks, you know, I mean, okay, they didn't do the same thing as last time. They're trying something different to see if we notice, I suppose. But,
Well,
yeah,
they clearly seem to be playing the long game here, and the investment seems to be working for them. So you're right. At some point in time, we got to bring them in. I mean, obviously, if they're a menace to, it's our job to protect the consumer. If they're going to continue to harm the consumer, then we got to consider, do we need to let these people stay in business?
That's right.
And candidly, many of these, and I think I'm correct when I say this, actually went to the Consumer Affairs Division first, and then, and they shared with us. And we were shocked, I was shocked that this quickly after some historical things that had happened, that sort of thing was happening.
I mean, in conversation with the legal staff, I mean, have you guys spoke with the owner, the dealer principal, the owner? I mean, is it common for them to be brought in for conversation with the legal staff, or is it more common for them to come here and have a conversation with the commission? We have brought people in the past who would
When-
not comply and give them options.
When, in 2022, the beginning of 2023, when this particular dealer, who owns multiple dealerships, when we realized what was going on, they asked to come in, and they met with myself and Jason and Erica and Taylor, and the owner did come in at that time. They got legal counsel. I can't remember if he was there or not. They appeared to be much more conscientious about what they were doing, but
Okay.
I just don't know. They have not appeared before you, but I absolutely think that's an appropriate next step.
Okay.
Moving on.
Okay. All right, I've got just two more quick ones. One is case number 25. The recommendation was a letter of warning regarding keeping business hours inaccurate business phone number. However, looks like they have no longer have a license, so the recommendation would be apply for a new license. Is that correct?
They were re-inspected after this issue came up. They paid the reinspection fee, and the inspector confirmed that all of these issues had been corrected, so they do have an active license now.
Okay, all right.
But I wanted a letter of warning to put it on the record,
Okay.
because this respondent was a little bit difficult to get them to understand the problems. So I want that on the record, because if it happens again, there needs to be a more serious, discipline.
The last one is case number 35, and I can't believe, Mr. Chairman, you didn't bring this one up. It's related to a dealer tag, and the recommendation was authorize a $500 civil penalty for improper use of dealer tag. However, my question would be, why wouldn't they be fined for lack of response? And it opens up the conversation about the use of the dealer tag, which has been talked about in previous meetings. I didn't know if this fell in their right to use a dealer tag.
Is the 72 hours a real thing?
I've never seen it. Does anybody, have you seen it?
No, it's in the
It's in
Department
the-
of Revenue statutes.
Okay.
It's absolutely very clearly, you
Okay.
cannot use it for
72
more than
hours.
72 hours.
All right, fair enough. But they didn't respond in a timely manner either, so.
Well, right, let's see. So they responded to the complaint in a timely manner.
Okay.
What was not timely was me trying to get follow-up information.
Okay.
And we can't, our statute and rule just doesn't allow us to
Stop the
to
clock.
discipline them, if they respond to the initial complaint. Now, if there was something in that delayed response that was a problem, of course we
That-
can, but.
We talked about this one for a few minutes because I said, no, they didn't respond to the commission, the exact same thing.
Okay.
And we actually, as part of our rule changes, that's one of the things that's included in there, that they don't have to get certified mail, it's just communication. So
Okay.
we've changed that to just communication.
Okay.
When that's adopted, we'll be able to do that.
Real quick, for the sake of time, could you forward that information related to the dealer tag uses? Because we've overlooked that and had several conversations about it. I've been able to find that, so if you'll send that to the commission, that'd be great. We've talked about it just about every.
Any other, Carl, just ask anybody else?
Any other comments, concerns? So I would entertain a motion to adopt the legal
Can I,
report.
sorry,
Go ahead.
I've got two things. I just want to clarify on number, let's see, 10, 11, where the scratch-off mailers. Did you want, on top of the $5,000 civil penalties, do you want them to come in, or is that not, are we not doing that at this time?
I don't know that we need them to come in
Okay,
now.
okay, I
but
just wanted to make sure.
If they did it again, we certainly would, and I think we'd be, entertain, revocation of their.
Okay.
Of their dealer.
Okay.
Status.
And then one other thing, and this is up to you if you want to discuss it or not, but in general, I'm sure you noticed in this legal report, there was quite a few instances where we've had inspections or investigations where there are unlicensed activity by like a salesperson that had their license expired, or a dealer license expired, and we are starting to and would like to issue a civil penalty per vehicle sold by like an unlicensed salesperson. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention that in this legal report, we were fining per vehicle, but capping it at 20,000 because it could be unlimited. I mean, some of these, they could sell hundreds and it would be a really high civil penalty. And we're capping it at 12,000 kind of as a standard procedure. Now, we're also going to consider if they're a very small dealership, we're looking at their annual sales reports. If they don't sell very many cars, we may take that into consideration and cap it at a lesser amount. But in general, is the commission okay with that procedure going forward? Or is there anything that you want to discuss or any questions you have?
I mean, I noticed, Jill, doing that, I'm in favor of it. I think that's a good approach. The only thing, if you're making a subjective decision on the cap, if we have any way of trying to make it consistent enough so that it doesn't accidentally get us somewhere we don't mean to be, subjective decisions on caps concern me a little bit from a legal standpoint, but y'all might know better than I would.
No, I completely understand that, and I agree with you. Our rule does allow us to take into consideration various factors when issuing a civil penalty, and one of those is whether or not it will be an economic deterrent. So to me, that is subjective. But if, yeah, I mean, it's always going to come before you, and if we feel that there's a mitigating factor or a reason to cap it at less, that'll be explained in the legal report, and it's something we can talk through.
No, agreed, and I mean, I live in the world of subjective decisions, but if we can have any kind of objective qualification we're using for it, in this case, you're saying an economic deterrent, if we have any way of kind of quantifying that to some extent, and including that in the recommendation so that we have some sort of way of measuring consistency, that might be, that might get it, but I'll leave that up to the lawyers just to make sure that we're okay.
Commissioner Ayers, I agree. I mean, it could be tied, you mentioned annual sales, it could be tied to something that's reasonable.
Right. We'll work on trying to come up with something that's kind of like, we've got our agreed citation schedule, something of a schedule for these, like a baseline. So we're consistent in a subjective, area.
Yeah, and I don't mean that as a way to build more regulations or build, more bureaucracy. If there's a way we can do it that doesn't involve the Tennessee legislature, that'd be great.
Agreed. That was all I had. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? So now I would entertain a motion to adopt the legal report as amended by the legal committee.
Does
So
that,
moved.
does that include the modifications on case 32 and 33? Okay.
31, 32?
31, 32, yes, 31, 32, yes.
Yes.
Second.
Second?
So moved?
I made the motion. I think Stan,
Second.
Commissioner Norton, seconded it.
Now to Denise.
And if someone will. The motion by Chairman Roberts to adopt the legal report as amended, seconded by Chairman Norton. Commissioner Levy? Aye. Votes aye. Commissioner Andrews?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Kramer? Votes aye, and Chairman Roberts
Aye.
votes aye. You have adopted the legal report by the legal committee as amended.
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break before we start the quarterly meeting, okay? Yeah. I heard. Let's go ahead and get started. It is so good to see so many commissioners with your bright, smiling faces on such a beautiful morning that you could be doing something else, but thank you for serving, okay? Anyway, I call this meeting to order. It's 9:42, and let's see here. Notice of public comment, I guess that's in the back, that you sign up if you want to speak. Is that right, Denise?
Yes, sir.
And if you'll call the roll for attendance this morning to establish a quorum.
Absolutely. Commissioner Andrews
Here?
is present. Commissioner Copenhaver
Here.
is present. Commissioner Elam
Here.
is present. Commissioner Evans
Here.
is present. Commissioner Galvin
Here.
is present. Commissioner Kramer is present. Commissioner Levy
Here.
is present. Commissioner Norton
Here.
is present. Commissioner Owens
Here.
is present. Commissioner Rydell
Here.
is present. Commissioner Speaker
Here.
is present. Commissioner Vaughn
Here.
is present. Commissioner West
Here.
is present. And Chairman Roberts
I'm here.
is present. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Meeting notice. Denise, you want to cover that for us?
This meeting's date, time, and location have been noticed on the Tennessee Motor Vehicle Commission website, included as part of this year's meeting calendar since November 20th, 2022. Additionally, the agenda for this month's meeting has been posted on the website since 11/23/24. This meeting's also been noticed on the tn.gov website, and as the chairman mentioned, individuals who want to make public comment during the scheduled public comment time are asked to sign up on the sheet in the back of the room and to limit their comments to 3 minutes.
Okay. We need to adopt the agenda for today. Who would like to make a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. We need to approve the minutes from the July quarterly meeting. We were all sent that in our package, and what's your pleasure on that?
I would like to, Commissioner Norton would like to abstain from voting on case number 33 and case number 118.
Commissioner, we're on the minutes.
Yeah,
The minutes?
This is the minutes.
Minutes, sorry, okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Vaughn would like to make a motion to approve the minutes from July 23rd, 2024.
Second, Commissioner Galvin.
Denise, would you call the roll for the vote?
Yes, Commissioner, the motion to adopt the minutes as presented from the July meeting, Commissioner Levy votes aye. Commissioner West
Aye.
votes aye. Commissioner Elam
Aye.
votes aye. Commissioner Andrews
Abstain, since I wasn't here.
abstains. Commissioner Speaker
Aye.
votes aye. Commissioner Copenhaver
Abstain, I wasn't here.
abstains. Commissioner Galvin
Aye.
votes aye. Commissioner Norton
Aye.
votes aye. Commissioner Vaughn
Aye.
votes aye. Commissioner Rydell
Aye.
votes aye. Commissioner Kramer votes aye. Commissioner Owens votes aye. Commissioner Evans
Aye.
votes aye. And Chairman Roberts
Aye.
votes aye. You have adopted the minutes from July.
Okay. We'll now move right into salesperson dealer appeals. Who would like to start us off on that? We've got a James Dyer.
Yes, the first applicant is James Dyer. He was convicted of 1 count of possession of marijuana with intent to deliver or sell. His latest date of release, probation, or parole is December 4th of 2021. So the board has discretion to deny until December 4th of 2025. And the applicant did not provide additional evidence about his rehabilitation, but you're welcome to ask him about that.
Is Mr. Dyer here? Okay, why don't you come up? Go over to the podium if you would. Make sure that mic is on and pulled down towards you.
Yes.
And anything else we need to discuss before they start telling their side of the situation?
No, sir.
Okay. Would you like to address us, Mr. Dyer, and tell us kind of what you've been up to and what you're doing now?
Well, I do drywall for a living, been doing it for years, and health's got where it ain't, and my son-in-law and them owns a dealership, and I was gonna try to start selling a few cars for them.
Okay. What was the offenses?
So it's one count of possession of marijuana with intent to deliver or sell, which is.
How long ago was that?
It's been over 10 years.
10 years. Okay.
So his last date of parole or probation was December 4th of 2021, so you guys have discretion to deny it until December of 2025. And that's why
Okay.
his application was denied.
Okay. Questions from commissioners?
Commissioner Vaughn, have you been in any sort of trouble since this occurred?
No, ma'am.
Was that your first offense?
Yes,
Did you make restitution?
yes.
Are you required to do anything else?
No, ma'am.
After that?
Everything's clear.
Okay. And what will your role be? Just sales? Is that what you're looking to
Yes.
to get into? Okay.
Any other questions from commissioners? Yeah, we will. I just want to finish with him. And who did you bring with you?
My son-in-law, he's the owner of the dealership.
So he's right behind you on the right.
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you come up and address us? So you'll be supervising him and just working with him and all that and
Yes, sir.
supplying with what he needs?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions for this gentleman? All right. Do you want to,
I guess we gotta have something, so, tell us a little bit about your relationship with, and what it would look like working with him on a day-to-day basis.
Me and my father-in-law, we have a really good relationship. He's a extraordinary guy, just caught in some bad times. Very skillful. As he said, he's worked in sheetrock all his life. Due to us all getting older eventually, it's time for a career change, and this would be a lot easier on him physically to do that, and still provide and support for his family.
okay?
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the sales license.
Commissioner Norton, second.
Any other discussion? Executive Director Lawrence, will you call the roll on this
Yes, sir.
license?
The motion is to approve licensure for Mr. Dyer, made by Commissioner Vaughn and seconded by Commissioner Norton. Commissioner Levy? Aye. Votes aye. Commissioner West? Aye. Votes aye. Commissioner Elam? Aye. Votes aye. Commissioner Andrews?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Speaker?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Copenhaver?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Galvin?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Vaughn?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Rydell?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Kramer? Aye. Votes aye. Commissioner Owens? Votes aye. Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Votes aye. And Chairman Roberts?
Aye.
Votes aye. Mr. Dyer, your license will be approved today, and you'll be emailed, the dealer will be emailed an electronic copy, but you'll get a physical copy in the mail shortly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
before
you.
we move to the next one, I apologize. I have been completely remiss in my duties. I should have introduced Sierra Shepherd is the newest addition to our legal team. She's going to be our new program attorney and is handling all of our Fresh Start appeals and rules and such. So you'll be seeing a lot more of her.
She got an introduction in the legal committee, but sorry, you all didn't get that too. All right. Donna Newsom, you want to tell us about Donna Newsom? Is she here? Okay. You can be working your way down if you like.
So Donna Newsom was convicted of one count of fraudulently obtaining a controlled substance. Her last date of release, probation or parole is October of 2020. The board has discretion to deny until October of 2025.
Can you turn your mic on? Is it?
I'll start over. So she was convicted of one count of fraudulently obtaining a controlled substance. Her last date of release, probation, or parole is October 31st of 2020, and the board has discretion to deny until October of 2025. She did submit information regarding rehabilitation. She graduated from the 27th Judicial Recovery Court in 2018, and she has also spoken at the TARCP Recovery Court Conference as a keynote speaker at the Judicial District Recovery Court graduation.
Okay. Any questions? I mean, well, we have you speak yet. I'm sorry about that. Tell us about yourself and what happened and what you're doing now and what you're wanting to sell cars, right? Okay, tell us.
Is this better? Okay. So I have a bachelor's degree. I got in a bad way on prescription pain medication, which led to my charge. Since then, I have 8 years clean. I have spoken in multiple schools, and all of the things that she listed basically, turned my life around. So I'd like another chance to do this.
Okay. Questions from the commissioners?
Commissioner Vaughn, but a few questions. It seems to go this way. So have you been in any trouble since this occurred?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Have you made restitution?
Yes.
And you've already said that you're completing programs and still
That's
speaking
right.
to other people?
Right.
Have you other questions?
Commissioner Galvin, why the car business? Why do you want to be a salesperson?
I just enjoy being around people. I love the marketing side of it. I just love interacting with people. So I've been in sales, insurance sales for the state before in the school system. So I just enjoy being around people.
Commissioner Andrews, do you already work at Taylor Automotive, or are you just getting started there?
I'm just getting started. I've been there about 5 months. So I'm
Okay.
doing the marketing now.
Okay, so in a marketing role, not in a sales role?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions for Ms. Newsom? If not, let's hear from who you brought with you. Tell us who you are.
Hello, I'm Camille Taylor, and we own Taylor Automotive. I've known Donna for years. She did make a mistake, as she's owned up to, but since then, she's been in many businesses. She's worked around the community. She helps others. She owns up to what she's done. She's not afraid to admit it. She's a good worker. She's very personable. She has good communication skills, and we just feel like she'll be a good asset to our business if y'all will allow her to have a salesman's license.
Okay. Any questions for this person? Anybody?
Move to approve. I move to approve.
Okay. Got a motion? Do we have a second?
Commissioner Vaughn, second.
Any further discussion? Executive Director Lawrence, will you call the roll?
The motion for Ms. Newsom is to issue licensure made by Commissioner West and seconded by Commissioner Vaughn. Commissioner Levy? Votes aye. Commissioner West? Votes aye. Commissioner Elam? Votes aye. Commissioner Andrews?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Speaker? Votes aye. Commissioner Copenhaver?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Galvin?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Norton? Votes aye. Commissioner Vaughn? Votes aye. Commissioner Rydell?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Kramer? Votes aye. Commissioner Owens? Votes aye. Commissioner Evans? Votes aye. And Chairman Roberts?
Aye.
Votes aye. Ms. Newsom, we will issue electronically your license and email it to the dealer, and then you'll get the hard copy in the mail in just a few days.
Thank you so much.
Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Raina Belcher? Have I got that right? Okay.
So Ms. Belcher was convicted of 2 counts of obtaining a controlled substance by fraud. Her last date of release in probation or parole was January of 2020, so the board has discretion to deny until January of 2025. There was no additional evidence that was provided as to her rehabilitation. I do want to note that she did apply for a salesperson's license in November of 2022. I don't believe she appealed because I listened to that meeting and she didn't appear. So yes, that's it.
Okay. Would you like to address us and tell us kind of what's gone on in your life? Pull the mic down and make sure it's on. Button on the right at the bottom.
Sorry.
Yes, so I did apply in 2022. I was working for a separate car lot at the time. I started as a lot tech, but realized because I was so close to just getting off of probation, it was probably a stretch, so we just kept it at lot tech. I did plead guilty to all my charges. I did complete 2 years of probation as it was assigned, never got in trouble. They did require me to complete a DATS assessment, to which I passed and they determined wasn't necessary for me. Since then, I've just been working and trying to be a mom and haven't been in any trouble since then.
Okay, questions?
Commissioner Vaughn, can you tell us a little bit more about what happened?
Yes, so essentially, I was in the wrong group of people. Some things were going on that I wasn't aware of. I did agree to do certain things, but at the time wasn't aware of the trouble that I could get into for doing it. There were certain things that were being held over my head in lieu of doing these things. It was basically used as a scare tactic. And essentially, I did accept that what I did was wrong. And just pled guilty because what I did was wrong. Even though I didn't want to accept that what I had done was wrong, it essentially was. So just dealing with the wrong people and letting people get in my head and persuade me.
What you did wrong, what was that?
My child's father, his mother worked at a doctor's office. They approached me one day and asked if I would mind filling a couple prescriptions using my name and my insurance. At the time, we were in a custody battle over our son, and they were using visitation with my son in lieu of doing these things. So at the time, I agreed to do them. There were 4 prescriptions filled in my name using my insurance from a doctor that I had never seen. The TBI did reach out to me. I did explain to them what was going on. The doctor, come to find out, her license had already been revoked. Her business, her address of business was actually her home instead of the office she was working out of. Myself was charged. I was the only one charged. There were multiple people, as well as the doctor was charged. I think I was just the easiest one to get to because I'd never seen the doctor. So basically, I filled 4 prescriptions without ever seeing the doctor. I never did see the pill bottles. I never did touch the pills. Someone else picked the prescriptions up. They were just filled in my name.
Anybody?
I noticed on your application you had driver's license revoked. Was that before or after, or can you tell us a little bit about that? Do you have a valid driver's license now?
So I'm currently in works. I've actually been to the DMV multiple times. I'll say about 3 to 4 times in the last month and a half alone. Essentially, there were tickets that were unpaid that I was unaware of, so those are all on payment plans to be paid currently. There is a release from Wilson County that has to be signed. There is, which I do have an appointment to do next week. There is also there was an accident that occurred in 2016, and there's some sort of financial responsibility release that I have to get signed and give to the DMV. I had the same issue multiple years ago. Essentially, I've contacted every clerk's office, criminal, civil, traffic, and citations. No one can find the information on this incident, so I'm kind of stuck in a situation where I don't know who to get to sign this form because it's not a real thing. They were saying that I was sued, which also never happened. I've never been in a car accident in my life. So I will pay the fees to unsuspend or unrevoke my license, and then when I go into the DMV to get my license, I'm told that it's suspended or revoked again. As of right now, it is only suspended with a $65 fine that I have to pay once I can figure out who to get to sign the release.
So you currently don't have a license?
No.
Okay. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I think if you don't have a license, you're uninsurable to drive cars, correct?
Technically, yes.
Okay. That's all I've got.
Does that prohibit us from?
No. It doesn't.
Okay.
It's up to the dealer.
It's up to the dealer if he wants to take a chance on you not getting behind the car of any of his cars, I guess is the answer. So, any other questions? Let's hear from who you brought with you.
I'm with Music City Alabama, and Jalen Russell. I'm actually the general manager. The owner himself is through some family and medical issues, so he couldn't attend. But I've been knowing this young lady for years. I was working at another lot as general manager, 2007 or 8. Met her through the Lock Tech. I'm sorry, Lock Tech. I knew her mother before that. That's how I got with her. She's got a great presence around people. She brings in, multiple people with it. She finds a social following. So I asked her, why don't you get your sales license? Quit, you got 5 kids. Long story short, our lot needs something like that. We're a small lot. We're not a big lot. We don't have big things going on, but to stay maintaining, she does some of my marketing, some of our consulting, because she brings in people, and people loves her. Most of the people that we work with have issues. Some have license, some, can't get license, so I can't let them do it just like her. I know her driver's license, so she don't get to drive the cars, but she'll be restricted in some aspect, but the sales, she's perfect again, and I think she'll be an asset to our company. The other stuff, I do believe she's moved past it. She's had some of her father's kids are really manipulative. They're incarcerated right now. So it's kind of like, you try to keep your kids in perspective, but also, you don't want to cross the line. And she did back in the day, and she's paying for it now. Hopefully you can approve her, because I believe having a sales license will make her more attentive of how you deal with people, how the kind of people you select in your life and stuff like that. And I think it'll benefit our lives as well as her life.
Okay, any questions?
Commissioner Andrews, so you mentioned the driver's license challenge as well as the other challenges here. Y'all have looked into this with your insurance company and others?
I'm the one paying all the fines. I'm the one taking her to every decision you got to go through. Back in the day, my license was suspended, and I didn't realize how fines add up. It cost me like $5,000. We're talking about that. I'm a little bit older, but back in the 80s and 90s, it wasn't that simple. So that money wasn't good like that. So I had to work. It took me 3 years on slow pay to finally get my license active. But they gave me a chance, and I think that's what they're going to do with her once we can figure out where this one issue is, because nobody wants to come up with, I know what it is. It's a liability release form stating, she'll do what is necessary. So we're trying to still track this down through, the Department of Motor Vehicle Commission, well, not commission, but the DMV. You know what I'm saying? So it has been hard. But I've been taking her everywhere, I'm willing to go the extra mile to get what she needs, because she got 5 kids. Her fiance, he does the best he can, but you're limited when you can't drive it, and I think everybody knows that. You know what I'm saying? And I hope the commission don't look at that as a hindering from her doing what we require from her, because we're not, our insurance and our bond is, straight down the line, and I don't have nothing to, to compromise that, and she knows that. You know what I'm saying? Right now she's helping me with marketing and consulting, because she can't do anything else. But I'd like for her to move and progress in her life for her family, not just for our business, but for her family.
Okay.
Commissioner Galvin, question for the young lady, and I apologize. So how are you getting to work back and forth?
My fiance takes me and picks me up daily. He doesn't have to be to work until 10, and he gets off at 7. I have to be to work at 9:30, and I get off around 6:37.
Okay, and you mentioned you're trying to get your license. I mean,
Yes.
do you see, like, in the next month or 2 months? I mean, and I know you're waiting, but to me, it's just a liability. I mean, I
Yes,
would
sir.
love to see you get your license before we approve, your sales license, but I just don't understand. I mean, how is that difficult? I mean, maybe somebody else can help me on that.
So there is only one release that I have to get from Wilson County for a ticket I was unaware of, which I've already spoke with them. All I have to do is go to the clerk's office in Lebanon, get it signed off on, and pay a fine, which I'm already aware of, and like I said, we're doing next week. So I went to the DMV about 3 weeks ago. The second time in that same week that I had to go back, I failed the vision test. I ended up having to get paperwork from an optometrist. Went back the next day with the paperwork. I was approved and released from my optometrist. After she did that, she informed me that my license was suspended. I didn't understand. There was the ticket in Wilson County, which I said I'm already taking care of. There was also another piece of paper that she handed me for an accident that happened September 19th of 2016, where I'm not really sure what happened, but this accident was reported on me, and the individual that was hit in this accident tried to sue me. However, I was never summoned to court. I was never served with any paperwork. This situation never happened. So they gave me a release where it said there was actually a dollar amount on there. There wasn't anyone's name on there, but there was a dollar amount stating that I was responsible for that amount. Now, that amount was almost $4,000. I was unaware of this, so I have to get it signed by Davidson County, one of the, clerks in Davidson County. So what I did was I called criminal, civil, traffic violations, any clerk's office I could think of to call to ask them about this. It had a case number on it. I gave them the case number. None of them recognized the case numbers. Every one of them said that this was nowhere on my record. I had a clean record. They can't find anything. So the situation I'm in is finding out who I need to get to sign this piece of paper to give to the DMV. And no one seems to know where I need to go or what I need to do. Everyone is extremely baffled. All of the clerk's offices, traffic citations and violations, no one knows.
Well, Sarah, let me follow up on his question about you don't have to, we can't turn this down because she doesn't have a license.
Correct. So the issue is her conviction for obtaining the controlled substance by fraudulent means. That is a crime of moral turpitude, and it occurred, her last date of release or probation occurred within the last, it occurred 2020. So you guys have discretion to deny her until 2025 January. However, the license issue is not a crime of moral turpitude. That's why it wasn't mentioned in here.
Okay.
Only the obtaining the controlled substance by fraud. So you can deny her based on that, but not the license.
I agree with Commissioner Galvin that it would be to her best interest that she has it, but we can't, that's not our business. So.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the license. What?
Clarification.
You want to ask a question?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So, not trying to play legal gymnastics here because I'm not an attorney and do not play one on TV. But by extension of the crime of moral turpitude and the license, is there not a connection? So the crime of the controlled substance by fraud and an extension of that, she not having a driver's license, is there no connection there for?
So the only consideration is the fraud, the charge with the fraud. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, technically, if you want to be technical, any crime is kind of like a crime of moral turpitude. However, only certain crimes are I wouldn't say any crime is a crime of moral turpitude. You can argue that it is. But I would say that crimes of moral turpitude are usually ones that are involving dishonesty, acts of violence, fraud. So I wouldn't say that the license is the issue here because you're only looking at each individual charge, not charges connected to other ones. And the individual charge we're looking at is the obtaining the controlled substance by fraud. That's why the license issue wasn't mentioned, because it's not a crime of moral turpitude. And this is a driver's license issue. It's not, she didn't lose it because of this, as far as we know.
No, ma'am, I did not.
Okay. Thank you.
In 65 days, she wouldn't even need to go before the court if their time was run out.
And then there's that.
Okay, and I mentioned that because as a consumer member of the commission, that's kind of where my head goes. You know, I'm not a dealer, so I'm thinking from the consumer standpoint, you know, how that might look, how it might be perceived as a consumer, so.
Good point. We got a motion, right? Do we have a second? Second. Any further discussion? Executive Director Lawrence, will you call the roll for this approval or non-approval?
Yes, the motion to approve Ms. Belcher's licensure was made by Commissioner Vaughn, seconded by Commissioner West. Commissioner Levy? Votes aye. Commissioner West? Votes aye. Commissioner Elam?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Andrews?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Speaker? Votes aye. Commissioner Copenhaver?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Galvin?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Vaughn?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Rydell?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Kramer? Votes aye. Commissioner Owens? Votes aye. Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Votes aye. And Chairman Roberts?
Aye.
Votes aye. Ms. Belcher, your license will be issued electronically to the dealership, and a hard copy will be put in the mail.
Okay. Good luck. Okay, next is Dylan Gentry. Are they here? Okay. Work your way up, and Sarah, if you will give us rundown on this case.
So Mr. Gentry was convicted of 4 counts of aggravated assault. His latest date of release, probation, or parole is May of 2033. So you guys have discretion to deny him until May of 2038, and no information or additional documentation was provided regarding his rehabilitation.
Good morning.
You want to open up and tell us about yourself, what's happening, where you are now, your sales opportunity?
Yes, sir. So I've been living in Tennessee for about 8 years now. I'm from Georgia. Moved up here to trying to kind of start over and, chase some goals. When it comes to sales, I just want to learn the personal development and everything and try to better myself as much as possible. As far as the conviction goes, the summary of it would be grew up, my parents were selling pills, things of that nature, and got wrapped up in some things with my father. And looked up one day and there was a gun in my face. And so the guy didn't do anything to me, didn't touch me, just threatened me. But as he was walking away, I retaliated. And that's kind of where the conviction comes from, is the couple witnesses that were there as he was turning away. I chose to, assault him. And so in that, there was no proof of self-defense. And, that's something that definitely, altered me forever, no doubt. Violence is an ugly thing. And, the goal is just to try to build myself into the best individual possible, and helping people solve problems is something that I enjoy to do.
Commissioner Norton, why did you stick the gun in your face?
There was some discrepancy with the amount of money that him and my dad had agreed upon, and my father had done some type of action towards him that I wasn't aware of, physically, put his hands on him. And so I was his son, obviously, so that was the retaliatory action that he took.
Did you know this individual?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I grew up with him my whole life.
Any other questions?
Commissioner Vaughn, so have you had any other issues since this conviction?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
How long have you been with Harley Davidson?
I've been with Harley about 8 years, kind of on and off. Always loved motorcycles, and so chose to try to do something I kind of like. That way I can be best at it. And I've left Harley once or twice and came back. Took a music industry opportunity 2 years ago because I was at the same dealership as in service as well. And then with the music industry and how political it's kind of gotten and how much I love Harley, I decided to come back, work service again, and intern through some personal development and good mentors and things like that. I've kind of taken an interest to sales and wanted to learn the ropes to hopefully try to have my own dealership one day.
Okay, any more questions? Mr. Gentry?
Oh, Commissioner Vaughn, you did make restitution, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Maybe just hold on one second. We're just discussing something really quickly. You can continue asking questions, but just before you vote, I mean.
My name is Joe Murphy. Excuse me, dry throat from sitting here. I'm the general sales manager at Moonshine Harley Davidson. I've known Dylan and his fiance for 7, 8 years. They came to me when moving up here from Georgia after his release, interested in buying a motorcycle. They both needed jobs, so sold them a motorcycle, gave them both jobs. She has since worked her way from our motor clothes department into a department manager. He's been with us as a porter, working in the service industry, left for a couple years, thought the grass was going to be greener. Have always enjoyed him, enjoyed working with him, finally talked him into coming back, and we'd like to give him a shot in our sales department.
Any questions for this character witness?
So how long has he been full-time at the store total? How long have y'all worked together, not including the breaks?
Probably 5 years, 5 or 6 years.
Okay, and you've seen him in terms of interactions with customers and other team members and haven't had any issue?
He's babysat my son, so yes, know him real well.
Okay.
Just great guy.
And commission members, would you guys be okay if we took about a 5-minute recess? Chair,
Sure.
if you want to go ahead and,
We can do that.
okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Okay. If you need to go to the restroom, this is the time to do it.
My daughter was gonna bring them, and yesterday Karen said she was gonna be there, and I forgot.
Was it 2016 or 17 that you came and bought the bike?
So that's 8 years ago, right? Probably should have said that.
Mr. Chairman, I think we're ready if you want to call everybody back in. We're ready. We're ready.
Are we ready to reconvene? Okay.
Okay, so from the legal side, we just have a few follow-up questions for him
Okay.
that we're going to go ahead and ask.
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind coming up to the microphone. Initially, the first question is, can you confirm, have you ever spoke about this crime on a podcast before?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you confirm the name of the podcast?
The Relentless Pursuit Podcast.
Okay, and can you just go ahead and tell the commission a little bit about what you spoke about while on that podcast?
Yeah, just kind of how the people who helped me kind of come back from that experience and how just important it is to try to lead by example for other people, you know? I mean, I definitely wouldn't be here today if somebody didn't see something in me and say, hey, man, like if you don't get your stuff together and start doing different actions, not just talking about doing different things, then your reality is not going to change. So, you know, and I somehow believed in myself, and so you know, just that's kind of what the podcast entailed, was that and the whole story and some of the details of what happened.
And can you just go ahead and provide a little bit more details about what you spoke about pertaining to the crime itself and the details surrounding the crime while on that podcast to the commission?
Sure, yeah, no, just kind of the whole breakdown of how I got myself involved in it, the decisions that I made to get myself to the point of going through that situation and then coming out actually better than what I went in my opinion. And talked about kind of just looking into reentry and how things are kind of geared towards personal development. You have to work on yourself to get better in that space. You know, there's nobody that's going to do it for you, things of that nature. And to the crime, kind of how I reacted and shouldn't have reacted, and things that I obviously wish I could have changed, but obviously am accountable for. And, yeah, just trying to help shed some transparency.
And just so the commission has more context, are you able to provide just a little bit more information about the specifics of the crime and the situation the day of?
Pertaining to what specifically? The shooting and the...
Just go ahead and walk them through the day.
Yeah, no, so I started receiving phone calls from a gentleman that I knew and grew up with, a bunch of phone calls of him telling me he's coming out to my house to do something to me, and this is somebody that I did not obviously take serious. I was also doing things, drinking, partying, and all of that during the time that he showed up. Wasn't abnormal to see random headlights pulling into where I'm from in the middle of nowhere in South Georgia in the middle of the night. Didn't think too much about it. As the gun was put in my face and then I retaliated, part of the issue with that was the amount of overkill that I did. I didn't just shoot one time. That was I shot and then reloaded and took it to a level that the court deemed a little excessive, which is why the 20 years is there.
Can I ask a question at this point? Yes. Was there anything on that podcast, any information on the podcast that we didn't know about? Was there anything that differs from what we know in here today?
Not off the top of my head, no, sir.
Commissioner Volin, so were you completely honest on the podcast?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that available for us to hear?
So if the commission is wanting to hear that podcast, basically kind of what we discussed back here, what would have to happen is you'd have to listen to it, and we had to move this on to the next meeting to discuss it at that point.
I think that's a wise decision. I don't think we can make a call on this without having all the information, because
Can I ask what the issue is? We've never gotten too deep into the details of an actual crime before. We're really more concerned about what's happened afterwards, but obviously it's got you all concerned about something. Can you provide a little bit more information as to why, in this case, we need to know those details?
I think when she was initially looking into the crime itself and into the appeal packet, that this is something that she came across, and she just felt that maybe it was necessary for the commission to be aware of it. That is a situation that involved more information that was initially being discussed. But that is completely at your discretion. If you feel that it's not relevant to your decision and that you are just focused on kind of what's happened since the time of the crime, you have no requirement to listen to the podcast or take that into consideration.
my concern is the length of time and the seriousness of the crime. Because when is it? Let's see, he wouldn't be eligible till 2038.
I understand
Yeah.
that, but we've approved previous appeals before of worse situations where we don't really get into the details of why or how they've described it in other places before. We've sort of understood that there was a crime, and we've been focused on what they've done to fix it subsequently. I'm just curious as to why we would be getting into these details in this one case.
I think this was necessarily maybe just a unique situation where this is something that was come across. And so discussing it with legal as a full and Denise and Jason, that just wanted to make you aware of it as an option if that's something that you guys wanted to review before making your decision. But as I said before, it's completely within your discretion if you feel it's not relevant to move forward.
So just in the initial description of kind of what happened prior to this new evidence, it was my understanding that the retaliation was more from the physical standpoint, but based on what I just heard, it sounds like there were shots fired from your end?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
That was my concern as well. That's not you didn't share that part first. And to me,
Apologies.
it's like you need to lay it all out there if you think that, we should consider giving you your license. And that is my concern. I'd like to know the full details, not just the sugar-coated version.
Okay.
And if that's something that you want to gather by asking more questions with him today, instead of moving forward to the next meeting and watching it, that's something that you're able to do, and he's able to answer them as he is here, or we can move to the next meeting and you can listen to the podcast yourselves.
I'd personally like to get to the bottom of it. I mean, I mean, it's been 8 years ago, and there's clearly something in this podcast that concerns the staff. So I, mean, I agree with Commissioner Vaughn. If you could tell us what's the concerning part of that podcast that we may need to hear. I mean, I was unaware that it fired gunshots based on what you told us earlier. Now I'm curious about how many shots, who'd you shoot at, did you hit them?
And I don't think the intention was to create any kind of belief that there's something that's being hidden. I think that they were just trying to give you the full picture of what they've obtained during their research and making sure that you get the full story, and so you're able to fully question the applicant.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you should walk us through it, like
Absolutely.
Commissioner Vaughn said, because till you stopped us, I was mashing the button to say I vote to, give your license, but now I'm alarmed, so I'd like to hear it all.
Okay, yeah, no, I apologize for the misconception, but, yeah, no, I did shoot him, back, or I did shoot him, yes. He, a couple times, and I had a sawed-off shotgun under my seat, and that's where the unlawful discharge during the commission of a felony, unlawful discharge of a firearm. And, so, yeah, he was, injured in the process, as far as everything I know from case files and everything like that. He was with some buddies in the cars when I was shooting back at him. His buddies in the car were, the way that it's told in the case files, were shooting guns in the air. I'm just hearing shots, so I'm thinking that they're shooting back at me. And during the process of all of that commotion, my neighbor's house was also struck as well. So that was a lot of the issue as well. When it comes to a little bit about the podcast, things like that, I did discuss with my probation officer and things like that before I did that, so I did get some approval there. But to talk more about the crime in general, it was whenever everything left and everything was all done and over with, of course, the police was called and everything like that the next morning. No investigator came and spoke to me for a while because they believed that it was somebody shooting up the wrong house. When the guy got hit, I'm not sure where he went and dealt with those things, injuries and things like that. So I don't know the logistics there. But yes, no, I did, when I say retaliate, I did, react violently. I was just taught kind of my whole life, if somebody comes to your house and does something like that to you, that you're within your rights, and that's not the way it really is. You have to prove self-defense beyond a shadow of a doubt, and I totally understand that now. And, it was the best, worst thing that ever happened to me, to be honest with you. But, any questions, I'm fine with answering. So.
Was the purpose of this podcast to downplay the severity of what you had done, or was it more focused on how you've recovered in your life afterwards?
Yes, sir. Well, quite the contrary of downplay. It's more about accountability to me. Obviously I have to come before a commission to get a license and things like that. And, I understand that if I didn't want to have to do those things, I shouldn't have did what I did, and so this is part of it. And I just saw it as an opportunity. It was an offer that was out of left field. It's not something that I pursued. And I just decided to take it, knowing that I may have to answer for it like today. So.
This is, Taylor, as one of our attorneys, do you believe that we have any reason we need to listen to that podcast before making a decision today?
I just think
I'm going to let Laura come up and talk about this. Sorry, we've never had this kind of happen before, so we've just been speaking about how to handle this procedurally.
May I show something else really quick for the record too? I do have a Tennessee life insurance producer license, so I've dealt with the commission here before, and that's part of something I've done to try to better myself as well. So.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Laura Martin. I'm chief counsel over this program. And a lot of you don't know me, which is why I was letting Taylor handle the situation. But so Erica, Sierra, and Taylor are all on my legal team. So just to be clear, I called a recess just because this was information that I wasn't aware of, and procedurally I wasn't off the top of my head, I needed a minute to think through and talk through the appropriate way to present this information for you. I think that our client has heard this podcast, and the nature of it was a little bit concerning to her, but I think the facts of the case that he has presented are pretty accurate, but that doesn't change the fact that maybe hearing it in the way that it was discussed in a less formal setting was maybe concerning to our clients. I wanted to take a minute to think through how we present this information because, of course, I don't want to present anything that could be considered hearsay. So my impression, Taylor's impression, Denise's impression of a podcast is obviously going to be very biased, which is why in the end I said, let's let him discuss it from his own words. Since we know that this information is here, this information is relevant, and then if you are not satisfied with what he has to say, then we can put this off to the next meeting and we can provide you the podcast. So I just want to make sure that nobody thinks that I called a recess because the podcast has information that is just so damning that I needed a moment to calm myself. It was more about legally, procedurally, what is the appropriate way to introduce this information to you all?
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions?
I mean, I'm just concerned as, obviously, the way in which it was brought to us has
Yeah.
caused the concern.
Mhm.
I don't think if there was a podcast beforehand and we knew about it, it was on there, I don't think we would have cared. I don't want to start setting a precedent that we would need to actually start calling in a third person in all of these cases of a family member or a friend. Hey, tell me what they said about this crime, 5 years ago when it happened, and how did they describe it? We've just never gotten into that level of detail. So I think we're getting a little bit distracted by the odd way that this information came to us, but I don't think it's relevant for our decision here today.
Yeah, and that's our fault, and I apologize that it was not presented maybe in a more standard way. I think it was just unusual to us as well to have discovered this, but once we discover it, I appreciate that my legal team would want to make sure that they're not holding anything back from you. But it's totally within your discretion to say, you've gotten the information, you've heard what he has to say. I mean, it's your discretion what you want to do with the information we've presented to you.
Any other questions for our legal staff or for Mr. Gentry?
So I don't want to assume anything. Have you and your legal team listened to the podcast in its entirety?
Sarah, have you listened to it?
Not in its entirety. I've listened to a portion of the podcast where he's discussing the crime, but the whole podcast is not about the crime.
Got it. That's very helpful. Okay, so based on the discussion that we've had today and what has been stated, both from the gentleman and what you all have presented, is there anything in that podcast that was present in the dialogue that has not been presented and articulated today?
So Sarah will jump in if I'm mistalking, because I am not the one with the firsthand knowledge of this podcast. I think that the way the crime was described, he didn't say that he punched somebody in retaliation. He said he assaulted them, which is an accurate way to describe that. But I do think that maybe it made my legal team and our clients feel like that wasn't the full story being presented to the board. But I think that he has explained it. And again, I believe he's just in a less formal setting discussing the crime. But I don't think that there's any, right? I haven't listened to this.
Well, we have not heard the podcast either. I just think that legal staff has, and when it was brought to our attention, I felt that there needed to be additional detail, and I think that Laura has expounded on that, when describing the incident, I think he said assault, and that's gone, and I think everyone thinks in their head, I'm gonna beat you up, but, so I think there was additional information that needed to be shared. We felt that. I think it's entirely up to you guys now, whether you think you want to hear anything additionally or not.
I think that we could ask for it if we felt like it was being downplayed, any of the charges or any of his actions, that we might want to do that, but I don't think we have to do that. If we think that he has come clean with us, for the most part, it's our judgment, and we can go forward. But I just want to package it up as, we just have to figure out if we felt like he was withholding something, and this podcast may be something, more information that we didn't know about. So I'm
Commissioner
not trying to
Galvin.
get any of you to do anything different. I'm just trying to weigh in on how I think that it looks, what it looks like.
Well, let me ask Commissioner Galvin here. Let me ask the owner of Moonshine Harley. Have you listened to the podcast at all?
A couple years ago,
A couple years ago.
before I rehired him.
You're standing up here and you're trying to defend him and trying to have him as your salesperson.
Correct.
You know, based on your knowledge and listen to the podcast, what's your take on it?
Just for the record, I'm not the owner, but thank you.
Okay.
General sales manager.
Okay.
He screwed up. Yes, it was a violent crime. He shot somebody. Me and the owner did discuss that both times before hiring him. And we knew that, hey, we're going to have to go and speak upon Dylan. Do you believe in him enough to, are you going to sacrifice your job? Are you going to bet your job on it? And I'm like, yes. He screwed up. It's not up to us to continue trying him for the next 25 years because of something he did 10 years ago. He went to prison, he served his time, he's rehabilitated, and he's trying to better himself. So, yes, we believe in him. And we want him, to continue being on our team, and we want him to advance his career, to continue bettering himself. He did not do that podcast to gloat about, I shot somebody, I'm cool. He went on there, explained his story, how you can reach the lowest of lows in your life, and then bring yourself back into society, get your life insurance license, continue a career, and, hopefully one day be a father and a husband.
Commissioner Rydell, you got a question?
Mr. Gentry, did anyone die based on the results or the incident that evening?
No, sir.
I have one more question. Are you still hanging out with the same crowd or same people?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Two questions. One, Laura, when you refer to your client, is that the commission staff? Is that the commission itself? In this context, what is that?
That is a complicated question in regulatory law. And when I was referring to my clients earlier, I was referring to Denise and Jason. But
Okay.
of course, the commission is also our client. But obviously, this behind-the-scenes work, our directors are the clients that we're usually referring to.
So in this context, is it the staff or is it the commission or both?
What do you mean in this context? Like right now at this board meeting?
Like in a couple minutes ago, you said my clients.
I was referring to Denise and Jason.
Okay, just checking. And then I guess a question for all the commissioners, in terms of the concern, what is in y'all's thought, or does anyone have any thoughts on the consequence of getting this wrong? Are we thinking that this is something that could put somebody in danger? Is this something where we're concerned just about, okay, if we're not upfront on this, are we going to be upfront on a sales contract? I mean, what is the consequence we're trying to avoid here?
I guess
the best way to put it to me is, if he's being honest and forthright with us, then to me, that speaks volumes of what he's going to do in the future. So that's usually my concern. So in the past, we've had people that have answered, no, they weren't convicted of a crime. So, they've already started off on the piece of paper lying to us. And so that's usually my concern is, are they being honest? Are they being truthful? Have they learned from their past mistakes? Have they made restitution? Have they made it right? That kind of thing. So that's my concern is he being honest? Is he going to be supervised? All of that. So that's my personal concern.
Is the applicant a risk to the Harley buyers of Middle Tennessee is kind of the question I get at. I don't, based on what he said, I think he's come a long way in 10 years, but.
There's been a lot of information shared that, like I said, I was about to mash my mic and say, grant him his license. And then we've got evidence, or not evidence, we have information of a podcast, and I agree with Commissioner Levy. We don't see this granularly. We've observed a lot of people come through here with license appeals that have done some horrible things. We didn't have it come up that we could watch a video, hear a podcast about how bad that was. So, I mean, my take on it, he just seems to be remorseful. He's got a track record since. We don't have any issues that we know of since then. So I think we're in a spot, I've never seen this before. So to your, what do we have risk to getting it wrong? Well, there's a lot of risk, but we do it every time we vote on somebody. There's been people come through here that I've actually followed to make sure, did we get that one right? I mean, we do have a responsibility to protect consumers, and me personally, I don't see that. I think we just got too much information here. I really do.
The most relevant piece of information I heard today was that he's babysat the general sales
that
manager.
too. Yeah.
I feel he's completely trustworthy, and the person who knows him here the best thinks he's completely trustworthy. And for that, I make a motion that we approve the license.
I'd second that.
Do we have a motion on this? We did, okay. You second. Any further discussion? Denise, will you call the roll?
Yes, sir. The motion is to approve licensure for Mr. Gentry made by Commissioner Levy, seconded by Commissioner Andrews. Commissioner Levy?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner West?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Elam?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Andrews?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Speaker? Votes aye. Commissioner Copenhaver? Votes aye. Commissioner Galvin? Votes aye. Commissioner Norton? Votes aye. Commissioner Vaughn? Votes aye. Commissioner Rydell?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Kramer? Votes aye. Commissioner Owens? Votes aye. Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Votes aye. And Chairman Roberts? Votes aye. Mr. Gentry, your license will be issued electronically and emailed to the dealership, and then we'll mail the physical copy. You should get it within 10 to 14 days.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I apologize. If you look at the director's report, everything is fairly consistent from our last meeting. We do have a few less applications in process and a little over 20 dealers, 20 more dealers at our last meeting had applied for licensure than at this meeting. But again, we literally have 3 less now than we did in July. So our complaints opened are 167. We've closed 34 complaints. We have collected approximately $87,000 in late annual sales reports collections. Our metrics are still on track. And we have collected thus far through the year $23,250 in fines that have been assessed through you guys. What I wanted to point out were our financials and our closing for the year. If you'll notice, this NPS, our net position statement, is really difficult to read, but we finished the year about $500,000 in the red, which comes off the top of our reserves again. So that now leaves us at 3 years running in the red. All the more reason for us to get that fee increase approved as quickly as possible. Hope that the rules package is in the governor's hands now. So we hope to be able to have our public rulemaking hearing, which hopefully is just, checking the boxes, so that we can then go before GovOps at the legislature and spend a lot of time at the legislature explaining to them why we need a fee increase. Also, that's what I wanted to mention with regard to our financials. I wanted to share some sad news. I know that I had emailed you all. We lost one of our team members about a week ago. He has been battling cancer for about 2 years and had been, doing fairly well, but it just got the best of him in the last month. So we're a small group of people, and we really like to function as a team. That sort of hit us where it hurts. And so we've been trying to recover from that, but I just wanted you to know how much he really cared about this commission and how seriously he took his job. And he was primarily responsible for licensing new dealers, and I can't begin to tell you the number of times I heard compliments from dealers about his follow-through and what might be needed. So I appreciate you all being there for us and keeping us in your thoughts and prayers. In terms of outreach, I went to the NAMBIC annual conference in Atlanta and got roped into being director at large on the executive committee. So you'll probably be hearing much more about NAMBIC, and that's, for those of you who don't know, is the National Association of Motor Vehicle Boards and Commissions. But the one bright spot in this is that they have decided to coordinate their annual conference with AMVAs, and that gives us some opportunities to share information. So I am excited about that. And that is really all, unless you guys have some questions.
I just wanted to make a point to call out the next line about attending the TAA's meeting in Memphis, and that former Chairman Jackson was honored for his 20-plus years of service on the Motor Vehicle Commission. I know Commissioner West and I were discussing it. It was sort of a surprise to not see him here at our last meeting, so I'm glad he has been honored for his long-term service to the commission.
Yes, sir. If I could have a motion for adoption?
Commissioner Vaughn, so moved.
The motion is to adopt the director's report. Commissioner Levy? Aye. That's aye. Commissioner West?
Aye.
That's aye. Commissioner Elam?
Aye.
That's aye. Commissioner Andrews?
Aye.
That's aye. Commissioner Speaker? Aye. That's aye. Commissioner Copenhaver?
Aye.
That's aye. Commissioner Galvin?
Aye.
That's aye. Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
That's aye. Commissioner Vaughn?
Aye.
That's aye. Commissioner Rydell?
Aye.
That's aye. Commissioner Kramer? That's aye. Commissioner Owens? That's aye. Commissioner Evans? That's aye. And Chairman Roberts?
Aye.
Votes aye. You have adopted the director's report.
Okay. We need to now approve the legal report from this morning.
Okay, and we just have 3 changes. Number 18, the recommendation has been changed to a $5,000 civil penalty for violation of Tennessee Code Annotated 5517-114B1K. And then number 31, okay, number 31 has, the recommendation has been changed to authorize a $10,000 civil penalty for advertising 51 new vehicles for sale at their used car dealership, failing to notify the commission of their name change, and displaying signage with their new dealership name for most of 2024. And then also the requirement that, well, they have 30 days to either cover the sign, and if they choose not to cover it, within 90 days, they either have to take the sign down or shut down their business until they have the proper licensure to sell new cars. And then number 32, the recommendation has been changed to authorize a $10,000 civil penalty for advertising 51 new vehicles for sale at their used car dealership, which is also off-site sales. And that concludes the changes.
And before you make a motion and we vote on that, I apologize once again. I should have pointed out that if we wanted to have if anyone had signed up for public comment, before we did the legal report was the time, but there have been no requests to make comments, so.
Okay.
He said he, oh, I apologize. I thought John said he didn't want to speak.
Well, just have a quick moment. Morning, board. It's John Camachi, current president of Tennessee Independent Automobile Dealer Association.
Turn your mic on. Button on the bottom right.
All right, all right. Board, would like to thank you guys for letting us sit in. I just would like to also mention and highlight Ms. Karen Brown, our executive director, sitting in and presenting also to you guys Mr. Guy and Stephanie Thorpe of Thorpe Automotive, the current Tennessee Independent Quality Dealer of the Year for 2024. Yes. And also Guy Thorpe is our incoming president. He is currently president-elect, holding seat starting in 2026. Just a quick report on Tennessee Independent Automobile Dealer Association. We've experienced a surge of growth. We had an in-person board meeting in January when they gave me the helm, and we set a path of education, efficiency, and engagement. And so we've experienced a great surge of growth, but also we've built the momentum of the in-person education sessions for the dealers. With the most recent one being on October 1st, where special shout out and special thanks to Denise Lawrence and Barry Whitson for coming and spending some time and presenting some education to the Tennessee dealers. We are building momentum in that regard. We are building a education platform with the Automotive Industry Center of Excellence, ACE, which is it is a Florida company that has helped multiple states develop an education platform. And so we are taking it on our own accord to kind of build the platform of education so that dealers applying to gain licensure could have a resource and a course to be able to get best practices information. Let me see if there's anything else. Yeah. And we do have other continuing partnerships, with other companies like accounting firms that are helping dealership become aware of the franchise tax revision, which is very cool. And if at all possible, if I would like to appreciate the time y'all let me talk, and if Guy got a second. Thank you. Yeah, we're very excited about our educational platform. Some states have moved to make that mandatory. One of the biggest things about our educational platform that we're excited about is pre-licensing. So if somebody wants to become a dealer, they can jump on our website and take that class and realize exactly what being a car dealer is. You know, sometimes people got money, think they can just jump right in and be a car dealer. That's not the fact. So, but we're very excited about moving that forward. We're having our convention this year coming up, which we're really excited about. So we've been doing some real positive notes on that stuff. We always appreciate Denise and you guys that coming out and helping all of our dealers. We've been working on a lot of different items. So I think everybody will be pleased to see that pre-licensing program and all the education that's available. You know, it teaches people about, safeguarding your customers' data, stuff like that. So it's just a lot of just good stuff, and we think, insurance people have to renew their license every 2 years. Realtors have to renew their license every 2 years. I think maybe somewhere down the road, dealers should have to jump on a platform and re-educate themselves a little bit, because even some people that's been in it for a while don't understand the stuff that they're not seeing. We've had the advantage, the opportunity to go to the policy conference the last 2 years up in Washington. And when you get up there and you hear all the stuff, there's a lot of stuff that dealers just don't know. They're not aware of. Even me on the board, I'm up there just getting education like I'm new in the business. I've been doing this for 25 years. So that's something I believe is a really good thing. I think it obviously helps you guys. Even when you guys were talking about the advertising earlier with the people that are doing fraudulent advertising and stuff. That's all education that they can get. Some people may truthfully do it on accident, so I think it's a great thing. And the only other thing that I would ask the commission to consider is to change the color of our license plates. We don't like the red ones. So, and that's something too, like you go to the auction, you'll see you'll see people down there, they're curbstone, and they've got a tag that has a D in the front that was not current for the last few years. So they're just getting them stickers and popping them on their tags. And I think if anything, it'd be a good check, just change the color of the tags. In a year's time, you see some of the red tag, you're pretty much going to know they're not an active dealer. So that's all I got. Revenue. Yes, ma'am. Revenue. Like that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Guy. Listen, I'm the only independent on this commission, and I just want to say how proud I am of the staff at TNADA, and congratulations, Guy, for winning the national award. And I'm proud. And I've been on this commission for 10 years, and good to see a presence, the independents recognized and working hard to make our industry better as a whole. And they're working with Tim and TAA to work together to make sure all the dealers, there's a little less than 4,000 dealers in this community. If we hold each other accountable and work hard to do the right things, education is important, but accountability is a good thing. So happy you guys are here and representing the independent side. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Have we adopted the legal report?
No, sir, if you'll
Okay.
go back to the legal report to make any comments.
Yes, before we vote, I'd like to, as Commissioner Norton, I'd like to abstain on case number 33 and case number 118.
All right, what's your pleasure on the legal report? Motion.
Approve the legal report as amended.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? Executive Director Lawrence, will you call the roll for the legal report
Yes, sir.
adoption?
The motion is to adopt the legal report as amended, made by Commissioner Vaughn and seconded by Commissioner Andrews. Commissioner Levy? Votes aye. Commissioner West?
Abstain.
Abstains. Commissioner Elam?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Andrews?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Speaker? Votes aye. Commissioner Copenhaver?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Galvin?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Norton?
Abstain.
Abstains. Commissioner Vaughn?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Rydell?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Kramer?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Owens? Votes aye. Commissioner Evans? Votes aye. And Chairman Roberts?
Aye.
Votes aye. You have adopted the legal report as amended. Thank you.
All right, next, legislative updates. Sierra, you're gonna, on your first day, kind of go into that for us.
Denise, jump in if I get anything
'Kay.
wrong. But there's an update on the F&E tax collection bill. Just as a reminder that the bill revised the method for F&E tax collection brought by the Department of Revenue. Both the amended returns and the refund claim must be submitted by December 2nd of this year. The actual bill was effective May 10th of this year. As a result of Hurricane Helene, the Department of Revenue issued a bulletin outlining filing extensions. The extensions are granted for businesses in designated disaster areas, and individuals who must file have until May 1st of 2025. This extension also postpones the franchise tax property measure refund to May 1st of 2025. Next, a towing bill became effective May 28th of this year and July 1st. Overall, the bill does the following. It prohibits a commercial lot owner from booting or towing a vehicle if it is not abandoned. It prohibits the use of automatic license plate readers to enforce the owner's parking requirements. It prohibits the charging of a penalty for non-payment of parking in excess of the actual cost to park. However, they may charge up to a $50 late fee if not paid within 30 calendar days. And lastly, it prohibits a vehicle from being towed without authorization from the owner until 12 hours have elapsed since it was observed. Interestingly, a Nashville company sued to prevent the enforcement of this law, stating that it will put them out of business effectively. The temporary restraining order was heard on October 18th, and briefs were filed in support and opposition of the restraining order this past Friday. The court records haven't been updated, so there's no word on the ruling on the request for a temporary restraining order, but we'll keep you guys updated. The electronic titling bill, which allows the Department of Revenue to procure and implement a statewide electronic lien and title system, was effective April 22nd. And there was a public automotive action bill, which became effective March 15th of this year. There was also a bill authorizing a charity antique auto auction in Chattanooga that was signed by the governor on March 25th. And finally, on July 1st of this year, a bill went into effect that requires all regulatory boards attached to the Department of Commerce and Insurance and Health to issue advisory opinions to anybody who is certified, licensed, or registered with those departments. And unless Denise has anything else to add, that's all the legislative updates.
We need to adopt her report, don't we? Or do we? Just informational
It's
purposes?
just informational purposes.
Okay. All right. Committee reports. Thank you, Sierra. Committee reports. None for the audit, none for the rules, right? Correct. Okay. New business, we've got an agreed citation schedule revision. And The department has looked at it and are okay with it, and if you all are okay with it, I think we should move to adopt it.
Motion to adopt, Commissioner Norton.
Do we have a second?
Second, Commissioner Vaughn.
Any further discussion?
Just
Executive
real quick,
Director
once we
Warren?
ratify this, what happens after that? Does it immediately go into effect, or do you need to get blessing from state senate or anything like that? Okay.
No, these are the penalties that we use, the schedule that we have used to assess penalties in the past. And you officially adopted that back in 2020, but we had been adhering, or the complaints section had been adhering to that schedule for years and years. So, at a minimum, the agreed citation schedule hadn't been updated in probably the same amount, at least the same amount of time that we hadn't raised fees, so at least since 2010. Staff looked at the rest of our sister regulatory boards, and it seemed in line, and I've sort of done a comparison too, of typically I would say that 95% of our revenue and operating expenditures are generated from our licensure fees, with about 5% coming from assessment of fines. We certainly don't want to be egregious about that. That has significantly gone down, with the one glaring exception from last year, which was the $200,000 fine. It has steadily gone down. So we thought it was time to look at it and see if we could increase our penalties, and felt like it was time just to do
How
that.
soon would this go into effect?
Immediately.
Okay.
Immediately in so much as, I will say, November 1st. I'll have to get the new schedule to our inspectors, investigators, and
Okay.
to the complaints division.
Now, the fee increases,
That-
that won't go in till
That's
July
correct.
1st.
That's correct. The fee increases, we have to go through the whole rules package process. Those are in the governor's office now. Assuming there are no additional questions, then we'll have to go before the Government Operations Committee and explain to them the fee increase. And assuming the rule is adopted, then it won't go into effect until July 1. Is that correct, Laura? July 1. So the new fee structure, so we're looking at a fourth year in the red, but we're okay because we had a little over 2 million in reserve, and we're now down to about 1.1
That's right.
million in reserve. So, I mean, we need to do something, or we'll definitely be operating in the red, but this is just a little boost to help us. I don't expect it to do a whole lot.
Because you've got a lot of expenses that go with the
Yes.
sending out investigators
That's
and things of
correct.
that sort, so it's not all money for
No,
us.
no.
Yeah. Okay.
So the motion to adopt the agreed citation schedule as presented was made by Commissioner Norton and seconded by Commissioner Vaughn. Commissioner Levy? Votes aye. Commissioner West?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Elam?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Andrews? Votes aye. Commissioner Speaker? Votes aye. Commissioner Copenhaver?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Galvin?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Vaughn?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Rydell?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Kramer?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Owens? Votes aye. Commissioner Evans? Votes aye. And Chairman Roberts?
Aye.
Votes aye. You have adopted the proposed revised agreed citation schedule.
Okay, next we have inspection policy approval. You want to walk us through that?
I will if
Denise?
you don't, if you don't mind, give me just a minute to explain. Prior to 2015, when we became much more centralized, my understanding is the commission inspected all of the dealers biennially in concert with renewal of their licenses. So that changed in 2015 to annual inspections. As a result, it creates a lot of work, obviously, for the inspection team and investigation team. We have, ever since the whole, oh my gosh, we're losing money, and all of that has come to light. We've been looking at different ways to save money and do some things. And not just that, there are so many dealerships and everyone is so pressed for time. Jason and I have long discussed, it would be so good if we could get inspectors in there who could spend a little bit more time and answer questions and, talk to the dealers and find out if they had any questions. So we got together with our inspections and investigation team and determined that everybody was on board, that we would move from annual to biennial inspections. I have guesstimated, I'm not a numbers person, but I have guesstimated that will save us approximately $100,000 a year, but at the same time, provide additional time for inspectors to go in and really look and, again, talk to the dealers and see if they have any questions. What we wanted to do, and our assistant commissioner asked us to do, and I completely agree with, is to actually have something in writing instead of one of these internal policies that we just do and nobody knows how or where it came from. We can have this policy and put it on our website so that people can look at it and see exactly what we're doing. So that's what we endeavored to do, and I got together with our legal team and dragged Laura into the mix, and this is the policy that we came up with, and everyone has signed off on it. All this does is move our inspectors from doing annual inspections to doing biennial inspections. And actually, we've also left a little wiggle room in there as well for if we have bad actors and they have a bad inspection and they get issued a notice of violation, then they're going to be re-inspected the next year.
At their expense.
At their expense. So that's what the policy is all about, and that's why we developed it, and I would appreciate a positive vote.
I think it makes things a lot more efficient. So what's your pleasure?
I'll move to approve.
Okay. You got that?
Second.
By Stan, Commissioner Norton. Okay?
The motion is to approve the biennial inspection policy made by Commissioner Andrews and seconded by Commissioner Norton. Commissioner Levy? Votes aye. Commissioner West?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Elam?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Andrews? Votes aye. Commissioner Speaker? Votes aye. Commissioner Copenhaver?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Galvin?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Norton? Votes aye. Commissioner Vaughn? Votes aye. Commissioner Rydell? Votes aye. Commissioner Kramer? Votes aye. Commissioner Owens? Votes aye. Commissioner Evans? Votes aye. And Chairman Roberts?
Aye.
Votes aye. The policy is approved, and this will also go into effect, hopefully, if I can make it so, on November the 1st, which I guess is Friday.
All right.
Thank you.
Very good. Old business is there. Go ahead. Do we have any public comment from things that were on the item today? If not, we can move to adjourn.
Well, one observation. I'd like to just note that in the October 18th edition of the TAA Bulletin for the Tennessee Automotive Association, they mentioned that congratulations for Farrah Vaughn, president of Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City in Memphis, being Tennessee's nomination for the 2025 Time Dealer of the Year.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Well deserved.
Well deserved.
Then I can make the motion that we are.
Adjourn.
Absolutely.
You can.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Better not say
Way to
no.
go.